what a week. The news from us, by us, and I'm not alone. I'm Terry Martin, but I'm not alone. I'm here with Mr. C and Tony Crossbody. Welcome, guys.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
What a week indeed. Big up Terry, big up Tony, big up everybody.
Big up yourself. What's everybody been up to in general? We always have to do a quick catch up. What's a general consensus? How's everyone? What have you been up to the last week?
Well, I can tell you I've now got Zoom party fatigue.
You're burnt out.
Honestly, why do I do this to myself? You know, I went to actually this was the first Zoom party that I did actually fall asleep at, but fortunately my camera was off.
Oh man!
You know how it's like, I've seen people, you know, camera on, and I unfortunately turned mine off just to listen to the music, and then I just went off, and I thought, you know what, okay.
Well, Tony, you thought your camera was off. Have a look at this. Not really.
Oh no!
Imagine your heart was beating. So
Yeah.
So are you done, or is that just one night you were a bit tired, or is that you finished with your Zoom parties? Or?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a little break for a while now. I think I've exhausted it. You know, I've done as much as I can to try and enjoy them, but it's nothing like the real thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Mr. C?
Oh, I've had a busy weekend, to be honest with you. I've been working on a few little projects. One, I'm trying to get a little comedy festival up and running, so I've got some good news about that. And also, again, we've been looking at a little online show with me and some of my comedy friends, Kane Brown, Slim, and Quincy. So yeah, we've been kind of really busy this weekend, man. Saturday night, one of my friends had a little drink up and everything as well, and I didn't get in until early hours of Sunday morning. Then I had to go clean over south of London. It was just yeah. I haven't had a day like that for a long time. It almost felt like I was back to normal. I was wrapped up and tired and working. So it's good.
Honestly,
it's good.
Even see, I too had to do some podcasts this weekend. We kept our social distance and everything, but just even being around people and seeing people, I think it really made me really tired, because I've been so used to being indoors, lazy, not having to think about communication, going places. So as soon as I did it, I'm telling you, I'm still recovering now, and it's Tuesday, and honestly, I'm tired as well. I'm really tired, but I'm energetic because I just love being here with you guys and see what we're going to be talking about, and you know, chopping it up with you always. The energy's there for it. And please, everybody who's watching, we want you to get involved. We want you to message us, put comments in, give us whatever we're talking about. If you feel something, if you agree with us, if you want to question us, if you want to take it further, please put your comments, as Mr. C just did, down below or in the comments box. However you're watching it, get involved with the topic today. Let's get straight into it. Talking about being busy, how busy have the high streets been this week? Like, I just came back from somewhere and everywhere was popping off like usual, people going in and out of shops, crossing the road. It was like everything's just back to normal. It's really surreal to see. Are we not still in a pandemic, or, you know, what's going on?
I personally don't know, because I've been in the house for the last few days, so I've not noticed anything different, to be honest. And I guess being in the house is just a result of being conditioned. You know, that we're still under this lockdown. So I haven't noticed any changes, not around my ends anyway, with regard to shops being open. I didn't see anything unusual.
What area are you in?
Hackney.
Oh, Hackney. Okay.
I understand why you stay inside your yard.
What area are you in? South?
No, south. Oh, please. I haven't got a rap sheet long enough to be allowed in south. Sorry, I've only got 2 criminal convictions. I haven't got enough to get into south. No, I'm playing. South, east, west, north. We're all one. I'm from northwest London. and same like Tony, to be honest with you, I've still been in, so I haven't really noticed whether how the shops are. I haven't been to any of the local high streets. Westfield, the proper Westfield is around the corner from me. I haven't been down there to see if that's back to normal. So I really haven't noticed, but I think Black Lives Matter has made it possible for everybody to have that ability now to go out.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that for sure. But I wanted to ask you guys first, are there any shops that you are desperately waiting to open though? Like, the shop that you miss, whether it be food or whatever. Is there any shops out there that you can't wait to open back up?
Yes, Ann Summers. I'm sick and tired of seeing the same girl them in the same panty on WhatsApp video and Zoom video. Yeah, I'm fed up now. You need some new panty now. I've seen the same panty for the last 3 months, and I've seen the color slowly fade from them, like my hopes and dreams. So Ann Summers, I can't wait. For the girl then.
No, we can never take these too serious, can we? Tony, come on, give us an answer. Nothing. Is there anything
I'm not really a shopper like that.
Okay.
To be honest with you, so I'm pretty much as long as the food shops are open and the supermarkets are open, so I can get my food, that's my main enjoyment in life. But no. I mean, I can't. I need to get a new shirt because I've got a Corona belly now, a bigger Corona belly than I had before. So I'm waiting for my local shop called Manhattan to open. They do nice, stylish shirt for the thicker gentlemen. Yeah, for the Corona belly, gentleman with a Corona belly. So when that opens, I'll be down there going to get a shirt for myself.
Is that the opposite of Tall and Mighty? That shop?
Yes.
It's short and wide.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think.
The one shop that I'm really looking forward to. Some of the restaurants, man. I just want to go out for a meal now.
Yep.
Just go out for a nice meal and just relax and let somebody else cook the food for once, man. So that's the one thing I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was about to say. I think that's the only thing. I can't stand my own cooking at the minute. I don't want my partner's cooking. I don't want anyone's cooking. I just want somebody else's cooking that doesn't live in this house. Yeah. So I am looking forward just to having the other options of foods open up. I know McDonald's has opened back up, but I haven't been there and I don't really care that much, to be fair.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are some other actually, I did go for I had to do a voiceover the other day and I went into Central and Leon was open. I don't know if you know Leon.
Yeah, I know Leon.
Yeah? Okay, so Leon is like what would you call it, Mr. C? Like a healthy
fast food.
Healthy fast food, yeah.
Healthy fast food.
Rice, they'll do brown rice and you can get your vegan stuff in there. And let me tell you, I just bought up the whole place. I bought one of everything. The next day I had it for breakfast. I was having rice and chicken for breakfast. I just was so excited. And that was my peaks to my week, basically, not eating my own food because I'm over it. I'm completely over it.
I second that. Man.
The only problem now with restaurants being open is all this social distancing malarkey, right? So you're going to go into a restaurant that previously seated 50 people and now you're only going to see 20 people spaced apart. And it wouldn't surprise me now that it's going to get harder to get into restaurants. They're going to ask you to call and book to see. You know what I mean? Because now they can only take in half the amount of people that they had before. So, that's going to be the new challenge now, isn't it?
And it flexes over to I was just wondering, how are flights going to be like? How are we going to be doing flights now? How are they going to fill up? Obviously, they can't fill up the plane. Are they going to be more expensive? Because obviously you have to section yourself out. Will they just let me be in first class just because there's not enough space in the rest of the economy? That's what I'm wondering. If there's going to be any perks, like, can you just upgrade yourself for the same price as the rest of the
I was watching I was watching an interview yesterday with the CEO of Qatar Airways, and he was explaining how this is all going to work. Okay. And basically, his point is that the aeroplanes are going to be somewhere between a third and half full, right?
Okay.
And that the cabin staff is going to have minimum interaction with passengers. They're all going to be wearing PPE. And he has to increase his prices because his point is that the amount of fuel it's going to cost to travel does not justify leaving the prices as they are.
Yeah.
So flying now is going to be a question of, well, one, if you can afford it, and two, do you really need to go?
Yeah.
So basically, you're paying for your seat and the empty seat next to you.
Right.
Yeah. Right. They have to make up the costs. I knew that was going to happen. But what also do you think about obviously the new law about people coming into the country to here? They have to quarantine now for 14 days. You have to leave your information at the airport. I don't know if it's going to be some sort of form or whatsoever, but you have to quarantine for 14 days when you come in. However, it makes no sense because I heard that you can still go on public transport, you can still go shopping and everything, but where you're staying, you have to be staying alone for 14 days. I said, first of all, who's policing that? And apparently there's like £1,000 fine if you don't go in quarantine. Who is going to be policing that? Are they really going to send people randomly to addresses to see if you're in?
No, they're going to rely on nosy neighbours to probably inform the police that you're breaking some sort of quarantine. Well, that's if they even know that you're a foreigner and you have to quarantine for 14 days.
This is it.
I mean, it just seems quite ridiculous. I mean, we had them coming in for at least 6 weeks. 15,000 people a week, no quarantine, no social distancing at border control. Now we're told something equally ridiculous, which is, well, we trust you, right? That you come here and you're going to quarantine yourself for 14 days. Hold on a second, officer, I'm only here for a week, right? So you know, I need to see all the sights and sounds of London. I got time for quarantine, right? So what happens if you're here for 7 days, or I'm here for 4 days? How do you quarantine yourself for 14 days? It makes no sense.
No sense.
Absolute stupidness. Absolute stupidness. Quarantine yourself for 14 days, but infect everybody on the tube and on public transport. And never mind the plane that you're on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good point. Here's the other thing. Now we've got to wear masks on public transport, right? So you've got foreigners coming in here who don't know the rules. They've come without mask, right? They've flown in, right? You've got to take Gatwick Express or the Victoria line or wherever, or Piccadilly line to get into London. You've got no mask. Now what happens?
I mean, they're basically saying we hope people will give us their correct information and work with us to stop the spread of COVID. I think it's just a deterrent. Like, I think it's just don't bother coming to this country because it's too much hassle. I think it's just a deterrent because it makes no sense, Mr. C.
No, I think that for the train, they must be taking on some ideas from India. They must be saying that anybody who hasn't got a mask is going to sit on the top of the train or hanging outside of the train. You know, like probably like taxis in Jamaica and everything. It's going to be like that. It don't make no sense to me. None at all. It's not going to deter anybody from coming here. If anything, it's going to make people more encouraged to come here because they know that there's no way they can enforce that. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible.
Yeah, I think the government have to look like they're doing something, right? They've made a pig's ear of this whole thing, and it looks to be all over the place. After being embarrassed and exposed with the whole point of 15,000 people per week coming here, right? Now they've got to be seen to be doing something as if, well, you know, we're really protecting the citizens of the country. But as we've just pointed out, there's no way of policing that. So, you know, why are we bothering with this?
Yeah, but Tony, there's a point to looking like you're doing something, but they're looking like they're doing something while they're sleeping and taking drugs. It doesn't make any sense. It's like it's almost like they asked their child to come up with an idea, and this is what their child came up with, and this is what they presented. It's classical British politics gone wrong. That's what it is. Not a clue.
I mean,
I haven't got a clue to do what they do.
They haven't. And do we think we should even be opening the borders yet? Is it too soon to be opening our borders? What do you think on that? What's your opinion?
Well,
not based upon the numbers that we're being told. No, that's the thing. Obviously, they know what the real numbers are. They know what the real situation is. But based upon what we're being told, we don't look like we're ready to be taking in an influx of people as of yet. But it seems to be a lot of countries around the world are seeming to open up now. I mean, they've started since the 1st of June, and so there must be some sort of collective decision that was made that during the month of June, probably most of the countries of the world would open up. But if the figures that we're being told are correct, then it would seem to me quite dangerous to open up the borders now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll disagree with that, Tony, because I did some number crunching this week, and I looked at the fact that there's 55 million plus people in the United Kingdom, of which we've had 35,000, roughly 37,000 deaths from coronavirus. So 37,000 divided by 55 million times by 100 works out to be 0.06%.
Wow.
So it's not even 1% of the population.
It's doing it back.
Work it out. So 37,000 divided by 55 million times by 100 gives you 0.0.
No. Oh, battery's gone. Sorry.
Oh dear.
So what I'm saying is literally less than 0.5% chance of you dying from COVID, never mind contracting it. So, you know, when you look at it like that,
yeah,
it's not as scary as they're making it out, man. It
but
really.
You're forgetting about the second wave. The second wave, which is coming, you've got to be careful.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the wave from the Queen, actually, than the second wave of coronavirus. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think, again, when you look at the numbers what have gone out, you know, protesting this weekend, the close proximity of everybody, people with masks, without masks, it kind of proves that really, if it was as bad as they're saying it was, there should be a massive increase in people contracting it, and within the next week or so, people dying from it. And it's not going to happen. Even because I tell you why, they haven't even got the common sense to massage the numbers to make it believable that was the reason why. They're not even that intelligent. The politicians, they're so stupid.
I think there needs to be a public inquiry when this is all over, because I mean, a lot of heads have got to roll for the way this whole thing was handled. You know, if heads don't roll, then what it means is that this was done by design for a particular purpose for which we are yet to see. But so many people have suffered and died, right, following government guidelines. Apparently, the figures that were first given to us were from a computer model, right? And the government came and said, when they gave their speech, they said, well, the science tells us that this is how COVID is going to grow exponentially, and therefore we need to do this. And that's where the lockdown came from. And subsequently, nothing happened of the sort. So the people who crunch these numbers, they need to be hauled up in court, right? And the politicians who took that advice. And in fact, there were scientists who disagreed with the so-called science that was provided, but they were silenced.
Yeah.
So there's some people that really have to be brought to book for this whole fiasco.
No, it's too late, because in their Coronavirus Act, they've made a lot of people immune from prosecution or from any kind of inquiry. So it's not going to happen. That's one thing it's not about.
What did that tell you? That tells you.
That tells you a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Blossom said, I agree with Tony. The UK government are a joke. We have the second highest death rate in the world, and it's because UK politicians don't know what they're doing. That's what Mr. C said, didn't you? They don't have a Scooby-Doo.
It's either they don't have a Scooby-Doo, or they're brilliant masterminds at something, right? That we don't know about.
And I think we will never know. We will never know.
Well, I think the result of what comes out of this will tell us what this is all about.
That's true. And I just wanted to feed off that, going off of talking about border control. What do we think about the docudrama that was on called Sitting in Limbo? First of all, I have to hold my hands up and say I didn't watch it. I haven't watched it yet anyway, because I'm sure it's on the iPlayer. I haven't heard too much about it. So I'm going to move over to Mr. Sion. Tech Control, because it seems like you watched it from your reaction.
Oh man, listen, what a program.
Yeah?
What a program. Absolutely had me gripped from start to finish. This is what I'm not going to try and give away any spoilers. It's a must watch for everybody. However, within the first 3 minutes, I felt like I was watching a program for us. Wow. I heard Beres Hammond. I was like, hold on, Beres. I was like, oh, father. This sort of black man, a black woman, and they was in a loving embrace. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful story. However, it told the story of this guy who's come here from since he was a child, came with his mother. His mother has now gone back to live in Jamaica, and he's here, and he wants to go and visit his mother in Jamaica. So he applies for his passport, only to be flagged up that, you know what, mate, you shouldn't be here. And then we just see an absolute roller coaster of emotions and wickedness is the only thing I can say about it. That leads that leads us along a path of understanding that this was not just happening to this guy in real life, but many other people as well. And you know, 13 people actually lost their lives within this whole fiasco of a witch hunt against black people of the Windrush generation, where you know, for me, it was nothing short less of modern day slavery. It's like you had people from the Windrush generation over here working for all of that time. And then when they're coming close to pension, and some of them at a pensionable age, you said, all right, mate, pack your bags, clear off, here's $1,000, get lost, sling your hook, with no financial compensation, no pension, no health benefits, none of that at all. It's an absolute, it's theft of the highest degree. Absolutely terrible, man. But what a program! What an absolute fantastic program! Well done to the BBC for putting that together.
I can't wait to watch it now. That's what I can say. Tony, did you watch it?
No, I'm like you. I missed it, but unlike you, I actually missed it on purpose, and I have no intention of watching it. I mean, I deal with a lot of these shows like I deal with slave movies. I don't watch them, right? I read the synopsis about it, and I knew how I would feel watching a show like that. And I just found it interesting that at the height of, well, we're probably arriving at the height of these protests, and the timing of the BBC to put that on in prime time when, you know, London has now become the focus of all this, the protests with the state. I just find it surreal, to be honest with you. And as Mr. C pointed out, and as many friends who saw it pointed out to me, the feelings that they were left with after watching the show. Yes, it was a great show. But the feelings that they came away from that was that same sort of look at the wickedness being perpetrated on us yet again, right? Not that it wasn't bad enough that we went through slavery, but here we're seeing it, and the BBC showing it to us. So I personally avoided it for that reason, and I just question the timing of the show because of where we are right now.
It's funny you should say that, Tony, because a few of my friends actually cited the same feeling and reasoning what you've just said. However, I understand that, but I think it's absolutely perfect timing, because this echoes that Black lives do matter, and this is another reason why. We've got police brutality right here. Everybody can see it. Now what we've got is these little kind of covert tactics where the government is doing the little, because when you look at it now, it gives us a stronger argument as regards to why Black Lives Matter, because this never happened to anybody from Australia. It didn't happen to anybody from New Zealand, anybody from Canada. It's only happening to people from a Caribbean background, Caribbean descent. So we can see that it's deliberate. Again, when you listen to the program, and again, I have friends who've worked in the Home Office, and again, people were saying that the landing cards, which is fundamental evidence that these people came here legally, and documentation of that, the Home Office set about to destroy those records. And even people at the Home Office were saying, look, if we destroy these records, these people will find it very difficult to prove that they're here legally. And they still went ahead and destroyed them. So these kind of things, and the BBC showing people these things, gives us prime argumentative reasoning to say, look how we're being treated. Look how other people are being treated. It's not just police brutality. It's institutional racism all throughout the whole of this country. And again, it strengthens our arguments why Black Lives Matter.
And I think we have to sometimes look beyond ourselves, because I know it's obviously you connect it to yourself because you can, you know, you're seeing yourself and your stories, and the stories portrayed are about our people. But what we need to think of is out of the box. I agree with Mr. C with the fact that there's also going to be other races who do not even know about this. Maybe you have no awareness that these sort of things go on. And I think these programs are needed for that. It's not always about to bring us down, but sometimes it's about to educate people, because we try and talk the most we can. But when they can watch a docuseries like this and see, because it might be so fresh for some people, you never know. And I think that's great that they put that up there so that other people can watch it and educate themselves and realize, like you said, the different levels that this Black Lives Matter is reaching. It's on so many different levels, and I think those sort of docuseries are needed, and documentaries. Or it's a one-off, right? Or is it a series?
One off. And the other thing what it highlighted as well, Tony, is that the fact that Theresa May, who was the instigator of this policy, and Amber Rudd, who actually was the fire starter for it, that they made a decision which was lawful. So again, what they did was lawful. They made it very difficult for people working in the Home Office and immigration not to follow the law by detaining these people. However, when they went to the high courts, it was deemed to be illegal. So again, it's just thrown up with two different things. Sometimes something could be lawful, but it's still illegal. So, we need to know these things, because, there's times when the police arrest us, which is lawful, but the way how they do it is illegal.
Yeah.
You see? So
I agree with both your points. I mean, I'm not suggesting that the show being made was wrong or the show being put on TV was wrong. I think it is educational. But I also think what these shows do is what a lot of these shows that shows us in a light where we've been downtrodden is energy harvest, right? So they harvest your energy, right? And usually it's one of anger, right? And they want you to take that and do something with it. This is obviously a deeper side of how things that we have shown. It's like a lot of things that we watch or listen to, even music, right? It's designed to elicit certain emotions from you, because it's through your emotions that you then act on it, right? So that's my personal feeling. Now we've got some protests coming up this Saturday, right? And I think that there was some talk of the EDL or whoever it is going down to the cenotaph to protect the statues and so forth and so on. Now, having watched this show, right, this could fuel a lot of people to say, you know what, that's just more fuel to the fire. We need to go down there and sort this out, right? And perhaps look at a way of doing this, perhaps in a way they hadn't planned, because of the way they feel. And that's just really my point. From an educational point of view, for other people who don't know our story and what, absolutely right, I agree. People need to know. And when they realize how corrupt the system has been and how badly we've been treated, then they sort of start looking at themselves and deciding whether or not they have been right to support that system. And I agree with that. I'm just speaking from a personal point of view.
Yeah.
That knowing what a show is about. This is why I don't watch slave movies or any movies that put black people, gangsters. No, because I know how I feel.
Yeah, we have to protect our mental health. We do have to definitely filter what we're watching, especially in this day and age. And I feel the media have a big, they have an agenda with what they show us. Definitely, I agree with that. And we do have to filter what we watch and what we don't watch. We know what suits us, and we know how much suits us personally. And so it's definitely something no one can knock you for, Tony.
I'm not gonna lie, Tony. It kicked up an anger in me last night where I wanted to find out where Amber Rudd lived and Theresa May and put some hot pepper sauce in them steak and kidney pie.
dear.
I'm not talking reggae sauce, you know. I talk real Scotch bonnet pepper and them thing.
Oh dear. As you mentioned there, Tony, about the protesting, I want to talk about how are our feelings about the protesting versus the looting, the antagonists, putting down these statues. In fact, I think we have a clip from Bristol. Let's watch that clip and then let's talk about our feelings on how these protests are going. There you go. That's them taking down that statue. What do we feel about the protesting versus the looting and then the antagonists? Because obviously, for me, sometimes I feel like they always try and take our narrative and make it into something else. We're fighting for Black Lives Matter. Now, all of a sudden, the main topic is, why is everyone looting? Why so much anger? Why so much aggression? And that's really annoyed me, because people can be angry because they're angry, as far as I'm concerned, and that's it. Like, don't start now concentrating on, but why the looting and why? Because I think a lot of them looters are not even involved, are they? Like, I don't think they care. They're just seeing an opportunity.
Yeah, we discussed this last week a little. We touched on this last week, didn't we? I mean, there's footage of undercover cops smashing windows for looters and stuff like that, and encourage them. You know, white guys in hoodies spraying Black Lives Matter on statues and stuff like that, inciting crowds. So this is more than just Black people, you know, protesting for their rights. They are agitators, provocateurs, people who are not necessarily down with the cause, but some of them are actually paid, right? Some of these individuals are paid looters, right? So what that does, it puts black people in a position where they're holding the can for looting, where a lot of the agitation and the smashing up of windows and stuff has very little to do with them. And it's an argument that you know, the general public and politicians will then use as to, well, why this is wrong. I mean, as far as the protesting is concerned, it's got the attention of the world, right? It's got the attention of the world. I read somewhere today that even the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, is now considering a list of statues that he wants to take down. Right now, this is even before any protests, right? So when people say, oh, well, you know, protesting and rioting don't achieve, well, actually they do, right? They do. We don't condone the damage to property, and we know that some of it are not with the genuine protesters. However, what it's done is brought people to the table. It's brought the general public to look at themselves and say, you know what, I've been supporting a racist regime. I didn't really know that Black people suffered so much during slavery. I just thought that they were sort of captive people doing work for us. I didn't realize that they were murdered, chopped, lynched, burnt, buried alive, pregnant bellies of women being cut open. I didn't realize all of that. And now they're searching themselves and to say, well, I've actually been supporting this regime. So maybe I need to start thinking about changing. So has the protests helped? Yes, it's all over the TV. People are talking about it, right? And what a time to talk about it during the coronavirus, a pandemic. Nobody can go to work. Everything's under lockdown. You're stuck in your house, and you're stuck with the number one issue, which is about, you know, liberating equality for Black people.
I think it's been absolutely beautiful. All three have been working in harmony. You've got the protesters, which I like to look at the liberal. I look at protesters as liberal Democrats. I don't even want to say the wrong word, but then democratics.
Yeah.
Because what is in my head, I always call them liberal Democrats, but I know I can't say that on TV. You can bleep that out later, mate. So you got those ones who want to protest and do things the right way, make their voices heard. Then you've got the rioters who, you know, if we look at Bristol, what they did with Edward Colston, pulling down his statue highlighted that we have these people who have this background of profiteering off of slaves being highlighted still to this day, 2020, in the face of the very people that you've oppressed. The very people that you've got all your wealth and your riches from, that generations of your legacy has profited from. And then now for myself as a comedian, when I go to Bristol and I have to perform in Colston Halls, which is named after this slave owner, this person who killed probably at least 80,000 plus of my ancestors, that I've got to perform in a hall named after him. So yeah, I was glad when they pulled the little Ramscram down and sent him into the river, because you know how many of us drowned in that river, in the sea, in that passage, so that he could put money and put on wig for look. Listen, make him move and go along.
Just
Also,
had a
as well, with some of the rioting, what happened with what's happened, we have to really look at what is real. You know, it takes me back to the 70s. It's something which, you know, is part of my legacy. I don't shy away from it. That during the 70s, when I was getting brutalized by the British police for just walking street as a black boy, no trouble, no crime, being literally viciously slammed against walls, handcuffed, threatened with violence and various other things. Yeah, I threw a bottle or two at the Metropolitan Police, because you know why? That was my way of saying to them, you know what, you can, when we're one by one, you can do what you want with us. But when we're all together, this is what we can do to you. So it's a release of that frustration. Now, if the law was handling it properly, you wouldn't need to go and do that. You wouldn't need to go and do that. Now, as for the looters are saying, for 400 years, you've looted off of my people. You've profited off of my people. Yeah? And yet we're still here catching hell. So it's my time to loot from you now, regardless of who you are. It's my time to loot from you. And this is, again, this is another thing why, you know, the Jewish people don't need to do this, because they've been given Israel. They've been properly compensated for the horrendous act that's happened to their people. We, you know, there's no talk of reparations for us. There's no talk of compensations for us. And realistically, if they really wanted to kind of compensate black people, people of African Caribbean descent, for the atrocities that's happened to us, for 400 years, we shouldn't have to pay tax. Or any kind at all, because we've paid for it already. Right. And in fact, the slave owners only for their compensation for not having slaves anymore, it only got finished paying in, I think, 2015 or 2005. 2005 or 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
2015, the slave owners were still being compensated for not having slaves up until 2015.
Yeah, partly by the descendants of slaves.
Yes, from our taxes.
Because we were paying taxes, right?
That's correct.
And some of that money went to compensate. Well, actually, what it did is it helped the British government, because the British government went into debt because they compensated the slave owners, right? And that debt was paid up in 2015, to which we contributed to it. But interestingly, I mean, Anne points out with regard to that Colston statue, and I saw it in the paper today, that I think about 4 white men tried to rescue the statue from out of the water. And we don't know whether they were successful, but I believe the mayor of Bristol did say that at some point they were going to dredge it out and put it in a museum. I don't know if he said that to be politically correct, because he's black, and that was what was really interesting about that. But the pulling down of statues always reminds me. I always have that image in my mind of what they did when they went into Iraq and pulled down the statue of Saddam Hussein after they killed him, and said, "This is for freedom and liberation," and they pulled the whole thing down. But of course, we pull it down for the same reasons, but obviously we're looting and destroying public property.
And the other thing on that as well, Terry, that there's a lady by the name of Kimberly Jones who actually answers your question in such a beautiful manner. She breaks down the 3 different how can I put it, categories. You know, the protesters, the looters, and the rioters. She actually gives a real great breakdown of that, and also gives a fantastic example of how we're disadvantaged from the point of view of paying monopoly. So please look her up. Kimberly Jones, her name is. And look for that clip. It's absolutely wonderful. Every black person of color, and person of lesser color, those of you of minority color should look it up as well.
Sorry, and just to clarify, that's a video to watch. You're saying, yeah?
That's correct. Yeah. It's a clip of a woman.
Kimberly Jones. Make sure everybody has a look at that. Let's push on. I can see here Blossom has taken us nicely into our next part. Priti Patel has no concept of Black Lives Matter. How can a person with an ugly heart be an MP? She will never support Black people. Off the back of that, thank you, Blossom. Let's go into this video and we'll go further.
To the police who have been subject to the most dreadful abuse, you have my full backing as you act proportionately, fairly and courageously to maintain law and order. And to the criminal minority who have subverted this cause with their thuggery, I simply say this: your behaviour is shameful and you will face justice. This government understands the importance of the right to protest. In normal circumstances, a large and peaceful protest would not be of concern to the authorities. But as our nation battles coronavirus, these are not normal circumstances. So to protect us all and to stop the spread of this deadly disease, any large gatherings of people are currently unlawful. We cannot afford to forget that we are still in the grip of an unprecedented national health emergency that has tragically claimed over 40,000 lives. So the severe public health risk forces me to continue to urge the public not to attend future protests. The government's scientific and medically led advice remains clear and consistent. No matter how important the cause, protesting in large numbers at this exceptional time is illegal, and doing so puts everyone's lives at risk.
Oh, shut up.
To conclude, that's your feeling, Tony. Go
No,
on.
that's the common, you know, she has the view of many prejudicial white people, which is don't protest because we have COVID, right?
Mm.
That is really code word for listen, we're not interested in whatever you're trying to fight about, and not only that, you're wrong because you're not observing social distancing because we're in the middle of a pandemic where you've been allowing 15,000 people each week to come into Heathrow Airport without any social distancing whatsoever for at least 2 months. And now, of course, it's wrong that people should basically fight for justice, fight for rights. And it's very interesting. I find it very interesting that the two ministers who came out foremost against this were the two Asian ministers in the cabinet, right? So her and the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, right? So they rolled them out. None of the white politicians came out because obviously if they come out, oh, it looks like it's racist, right? But let's send it to huh?
Leave it. Listen, look, I'll tell you what, Pretty, you know, come on.
Right. You know, you're part of BAME, right? You're not the same sort of group, aren't you? Because you're all lumped together in BAME. You talk to them. They'll listen to you, right? But we see
they go to your stop for food and here, don't they? So, you know, they listen to you.
Right. They'll listen to you. They'll listen to you, right? But we know the play and we know who she's working for and what they're about. So, you know, the minute you ever hear someone says, why are these people protesting? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Trust me, right? That's not that's not what they're saying. Is listen, you lot shouldn't be doing this. We need to keep things as they are, right? Why are you trying to change it?
Mm.
And that's another prime example of what she's trying to do. She's trying to make it. She's trying to pass it just to say that it's unlawful, but it's not illegal. She's talking absolute nonsense. Yeah, in this country, we have the right to protest, and you cannot take that away from us. It's impossible. You cannot take it away from us. We have a right to protest because we live in a democracy. It's very simple. It's the same like in America. They have the right to protest. We have the right to protest peacefully over here. She cannot stop it. She cannot at all.
I mean,
but again, this is another bogus law that they'll pull up. And if you've got money, you can challenge it through the courts and through a good solicitor and a lawyer. If you haven't, because most likely you're going to come from a working class background and they've removed legal aid, you're going to struggle with it. But you know, if you know your rights, you stand a better chance of getting away with it. But if you get pulled by an ignorant policeman and you haven't got your false address already set up with a false postcode, make sure you don't take no ID with you as well. And hopefully, you know, when they give you a summons, it'll go to the wrong address.
You will recall that in 2011 we had the riots here after the death of Mark Duggan, right? And as a result of that, new laws were brought into place as to how to deal with protesters and rioters, right? So they've already got the framework set up for whatever they think people are going to do. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think the momentum with the protesting is such that it's pretty much unstoppable at this moment in time. The only question is, which I haven't heard anything like, is what is the ultimate goal? Where we take it? I mean, yes, we want legislation change. Yes, we want to be treated better. But ultimately, with the way that this is rolling, what more can we get?
Mm.
That's the question. I mean, where do we stop, or do we ever stop? Right? Because I mean, we've got so much ground to cover.
Yeah, and off the back of that, I mean, we've only got a few minutes left. I want to talk about the fact that in Washington, they renamed a street Black Lives Matter Plaza, I believe it is. We've got a video. Let's have a look at the video first. Now, them words are meant to be able to be seen all the way from space. That's how big it is, been written in yellow on the floor. What do we think? Is this the start of people really making a move, like you're saying, Tony, or is this just a token gesture? Yeah, that will shut them up. What do we feel about this? Just to conclude our show, how are we feeling about this gesture?
I think it's both. I think that they want to pander to the movement. You can see all these corporations now jumping on board, what they call virtue signaling, right? Looking like they're with the movement. They can't afford not to, because if black people spend a lot of money with these corporations, if they don't, they know, when things go back to normal, they'll lose out. So yes, it's to placate you for the short term, but in the long term, I think this momentum is going to grow and grow. I think and I think things specifically in America is going to get worse. I think when we come down to about August, things will really get hot there. And I think it's on such a roll now that it's going to be unstoppable, even for the government.
Myself, I think it's the movement has started. There's certain areas where they're talking about the importance of the Black Pound. There's a lot of black businesses coming together and sharing, a directory of black businesses. Again, there's been certain demands as regards to changing the law, as regards to police brutality, like again, this kneeling on the neck, certain chokeholds. There's another move as well that me personally, I want to make sure that police do not do this move as well. It's one where you'll see they kick the front of your legs or the back of your legs while they've got your hands. So literally you are falling face forwards onto concrete or whatever with your head, with no arms to try and cushion your fall. It's an absolutely dangerous move. It's another move which me personally, I want to champion this and say there's no way the police should be apprehending anybody with that move unless that person is a direct threat to human life. Is madness. But again, I think to see something like that Black Lives Matter plaza in Washington, D.C., I know that every single day President Trump will feel really, really, really pleased because it's in the same color as his face. And that should make him smile. That should make him smile. They use the same makeup that he uses. Yeah?
Yeah.
Florida orange to paint it. He must look at that and think,
oh, I see this being a reflection of my skin. Oh, orange lives matter too. Oh, oh.
Well, we can never know what the ultimate goal or gesture is behind it, but I do like it myself. I'm really happy they've done something like that and it's there to stay. And also this week, there was a hashtag going around called Put Up or Shut Up, which again came back to our Black Pound and how we spend our money. And it asked all of these big companies to put up how many people they have in their businesses who are black as a percentage. And they had to speak out on it because it's too easy to just post, oh, Black Lives Matter, and a little piece with a little hashtag. People wanted these companies to actually expose themselves, to actually go back, reflect, have a look at your business structure and tell the world how many black people and how many black lives you're actually employing. And I know it hit so many of them people because it was a big movement and the we were all told don't buy from them unless they expose themselves. And so many of them have had to expose themselves. So many of them have put up their initiatives now for how they're going to move forward, how they're going to do better. So when people say all of this is for nothing, I think we've seen such a massive change already. And I think there's so much more to come. But definitely, I want to conclude with encouraging everybody, because there's so many different directories for Black businesses that even I didn't know about, to be fair, because I've never looked into it before. But we're not actually lacking. There's actually so many out there, Black businesses that cover everything you can ever need. So let's do well, I think. That's what I want to leave everyone with. Let's do well to at least buy from Black businesses. I'm not going to say it's going to be all the time, even though it would be nice. But, you know, even if we can say to ourselves, every time we buy our hair products or we buy our skincare or something for us, we should buy a Black, and start like that. I think small steps first, and we'll see. There will be a change, and we will have to start from our little small steps that we can do within our own communities, within our own houses, and that's our first step to the change. And we might not see it in our generation, in our day, but I believe by the time the next generation comes up, hopefully their fight won't be the same fight, you know. And
a last encouraging word for Black businesses.
Yes.
Please, I beg you, do work on the customer service. Please, I beg you. I love
customer service, man. That's a Western concept.
Help, give me a smile, give me something. Right, I'll pay more because I know you can't get the distribution, but please give me a smile, give me something to make me feel like I want to come back and do business with you. I beg you.
So that's Tony's outcome. Go on, Mr. C.
My final outcome is one. What a friend of mine has, and a group of people from her Zoom have initiated that. Out of their conversation of what's going to happen next, 10 of them have decided to put £200 to save £200 a month. 10 of them each, which will give them £2,000 each collectively, but together it'll give them 2,400. Give them £24,000 at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And with that £24,000, they're going to start up a business or do a bit of investing. And just imagine now, if 100 of us did that.
Love that.
So find out who your 10 is, see how much you can save a year, and let's pull that money together and let's create another business with it.
Yeah.
Or invest in another business and make some money. iPhones are coming out in September. Don't invest money in iPhone. Invest the money in the little Japanese company that's making the little component. What's going to make iPhone even bigger this year? And you'll see that your money's going to go up a considerable amount.
There you go. Wise words.
Let's work harder. Let's work smarter.
Wise words. And off the back of that, we want to say thank you so much for joining us on What a Week. Thank you for all your comments, for getting involved. And please stay safe and buy Black. Until next time, stay safe and take care. Thank you for watching.